Do you want to make 3D games in C++? Do you look at these cool games and say, man, I want to make this myself from scratch? You've come to the right place. I've been doing C++ and OpenGL for many years, and today I will tell you exactly how to learn OpenGL and what pitfalls to avoid in a 3-step process. Step 0. Should you learn OpenGL in 2026? People say OpenGL is getting replaced by Vulkan. Well, we still have a long way until OpenGL disappears. But this doesn't even matter, because OpenGL is the easiest modern graphics API to learn, and it has the most and the best resources. Graphics programming is not just placing a triangle on the screen, but doing cool things like 3D, shadows, bloom, and other cool effects, and all of them are super hard to learn. Personally, I used a ton of OpenGL shadows tutorials in order to finally understand them, and on top of that, OpenGL is the simplest API, so even if you want to do Vulkan, it's literally faster and easier to start with OpenGL, get to a good level of understanding, and then do another graphics API if you want. Switching from OpenGL to a different graphics API is super simple actually. Okay, now we get to step 1, placing your first triangle on the screen. This is the hardest step, because you need to learn a ton of new concepts just to get from 0 to a single triangle on the screen. But don't worry, after this big hard step, the next steps come in smaller, easier increments, and they get super fun. Now, the best learning resources that you need are learnopengl.com and also this tutorial series by Jamie King. But I will add a few details that no one will tell you. First, in order to use OpenGL, you will need a window library. Like you need a window first, and then you can display your OpenGL triangle on top of it. There are multiple window libraries. LearnOpenGL.com uses GLFW, and I recommend it because it's super simple. Jamie King, however, uses Qt, and Qt is horrible. Never use Qt. In fact, don't even get close to it. Now, you will need to link GLFW somehow, and LearnOpenGL.com has a tutorial for that, but it's horrible. All linking tutorials are horrible. My advice is to use my CMake setup from here. Trust me, CMake doesn't suck if you learn how to use it in a nice way. So first, use this video that I will link in the description to use my already made setup. And then you can use this video if you want to learn how to set up libraries in C++ yourself. You have to learn this eventually, but you don't have to do it now. One more thing. Inside LearnOpenGL.com, there is this debugging section hidden down here. You should do it immediately after you have OpenGL initialized. This will enable error reporting for you, which is obviously super important. I mean, if something goes wrong, you get a black screen, so you absolutely want error reporting. With this, you should be able to get eventually to your first ever triangle. Now, if you need extra help, you can also check out my OpenGL course in the description. I basically spend a lot of time and attention into making the first step of making your first triangle as easy to understand as possible. And you also get quizzes, so you really get to understand how things work. All of the information is free online, but with my course, you will progress way faster, and it might have a special discount, so check the link in the description. Step 2. Getting to understand 3D in OpenGL. Now that you have a triangle, it's surprisingly easy to move to 3D. However, you need to learn some new things. For this, Jamie King's OpenGL tutorial series is the best 3D tutorial ever made, and you need to also learn some matrix math. For this, you should watch the linear algebra series by TreeBlue1Brown. Along that, you also have 3D stuff in the LearnOpenGL.com website as well. These 3 resources are all you need, so don't spend 1 year reading 100 OpenGL books. Instead, try to make projects and use the things you learned. The only way to learn this is to write more and more OpenGL code. So try to make a simple game or game engine, like you can see here. As you learn a new topic on LearnOpenGL.com, add it into your engine. One big pitfall here is using too many abstractions. Now you might be used to writing OOP code, and OOP is bad in general, but in this particular case, it's extremely bad. OpenGL has a lot of global states, so for example, something as simple as loading a 3D model will completely change your entire OpenGL state. In fact, almost any OpenGL operation will change your state, and if your state is not exactly as you want it to be, you get a black screen, so you absolutely don't want to have big abstractions as black boxes. You can simply have a virtual class that you don't know what it does, because it will mess with your OpenGL state potentially. My rendering functions are usually one big 1000 line function. People will say this is horrible, but you can simply split it into smaller functions. OpenGL is not like, oh yeah, I calculate the shadows here, then I do some optimization here, then I render my geometry, then I do some special effect at the end. All of these processes work super tight together to get to the end result. You don't just render the shadows, you need to know exactly how you render them, or you get a black screen. So I usually split my rendering function into regions so I can more easily navigate my big rendering function. Now, there are abstractions that are okay to do for sure. It's okay to have a shader struct, and it's okay to have some helper functions, but the way you get there is by approach-based design. Start by writing the simple code without abstractions, and then slowly add abstractions and helpers. For example, you might make a complex texture class. Well, too bad, because once your engine grows, you will realize that you need to handle your textures as one big system instead of separate objects. So add abstractions slowly, especially when you are a beginner. Don't add a vertex buffer abstraction, because you want to see exactly what OpenGL functions you are calling in order to see bugs. Step 3. Learn advanced OpenGL. Now you can finally make super cool looking graphics, but some topics will be quite hard. I often talk about Gabe Randlet, that even though started graphics programming after me, he got to a more advanced level, just by trying and trying, and that's what you have to do. Even though a topic is super hard, you have to try harder and harder, look into more and more tutorials, until you manage to implement it. Now there are ways of making this process easier. First of all, find many ideas to implement. Some things are harder to implement than others. You just need to find the next challenge to implement that is just a little harder than your current level. For that, I made this video. And also in my Discord server, I have a special section with all the best graphics resources I know of, like render studies that take a game and explain you how it's rendered. You can find out cool ideas to implement on your own. And that's the second thing. Try to find easy things that you can implement on your own without a tutorial. This is how you really learn OpenGL. I implemented God rays on my own. I just thought, well, if I just isolate the sun with the geometry on top of it and then I do a radial blur, I can get a God ray effect. I didn't know the radial blur formula, so I just asked ChatGPT to give me the formula for it, and this is the result. Now the YouTube algorithm was recently changed in quite a bad way, so if you want to keep seeing cool OpenGL and C++ videos, subscribe to my channel. And again, if you need extra help with placing your first OpenGL triangle, check the first link in the description for my OpenGL course. I made sure to make the first step of learning OpenGL as smooth as possible, eliminating all the common pitfalls. And you also get quizzes and challenges, so you don't just watch the course, you actually have to think about those concepts and use them. So by the end of it, you will fully understand how a triangle gets placed on the screen. So check the first link in the description and it might have a special discount. See you there.